The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bianca Large, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at TrackVia. I want to take the time to thank everyone for joining a webinar showcasing how to customize views in TrackVia. Specifically, we're going to be looking at different types of views available in the platform, how and when you might use them, and some best practices when it comes to building views and placing them on your dashboards. Today, our agenda covers maps, lanes, timelines or calendars, charts, and pivots. We'll also cover some best practices when it comes to creating and editing your views and how you can take advantage of conditional formatting to enhance views for your users. Leading our demo today, we have Senior Solutions Consultant Brandon Gill. Brandon works with prospective clients to understand their business and technology needs, as well as showing them how TrackVia can fulfill those needs. He holds a BS in Mining Engineering from Colorado School of Mines and has been with TrackVia for 2.5 years. Before we start, everyone is on mute, but we are taking questions via the chat window. We will answer as many as we can, and if we don't get to your question, a TrackVia representative will follow up with you afterwards. Lastly, the webinar is being recorded, and all registrants will receive a link to the recording via email by tomorrow. With that, I'll turn it over to Brandon.
All right, looks like we had a little technical issue with my mute button there, but everything should be okay now, so I apologize for that. Thank you, Bianca, for that. Gill, I'm a solutions consultant here at TrackVia. And as Bianca mentioned, today we're going to look at some best practices when it comes to creating and editing your views and how you can take advantage of things like conditional formatting to enhance the views for your users within TrackVia. We're going to look at things like maps, lanes, timelines and calendars, charts, as well as pivots, and then we're going to show you how we actually place all of that on your dashboard. To do this, I'm going to use a pretty simple application that I've put together that we're currently looking at on the screen, in which we are a pastry company that is taking orders and making deliveries out to customers. So with this, I've got an orders dashboard here where we'll actually take the order, a delivery dashboard to manage all of our deliveries, and also an analytics dashboard that we'll use as kind of a catch-all for all of our other types of data that we may want to look at for our fictitious company. Now, for today's webinar, I won't really focus so much on the storyline of this application, because instead we'll be focusing on the views and the things that really make this application come to life. The first thing you'll notice on this orders dashboard is that I've got a lanes view set up here right in the middle to tell us the status of our orders with these easy to interact with cards. So lanes views can be great to actually look at the status of things or to assign things out to folks. I've got a map view that I'm looking at that shows where all my orders are coming from, and similarly is showing me the status of those orders based on the colors that we're seeing. Down below, I've got a timeline and calendar view that's showing when orders were actually placed and if they're getting delivered on time. We shift over to our analytics dashboard. You'll see that I've got some charts that I've set up to track our revenue per week, our most popular products that we're selling, as well as a pivot view that shows us what deliveries each of our drivers have made and the total revenue generated per driver. The last thing I'll point out is that I've got one other tab open that is a view I've set up that shows a summary of all our orders and deliveries, but more importantly, it contains all the field types we need to create the views that we're going to walk through today. So if I navigate to the right-hand corner to our hamburger menu here, we'll see that at the bottom, I've got options to create a lanes view, which requires a relationship or a drop-down type field to create, a timeline or calendar view, which requires a date or a date and time field to create, a map type view, which requires a location type field, and an option to make a pivot view, which allows us to summarize data on any type of view. Throughout the webinar, we're going to use this summary view to walk through creating these different view types, and then at the end, we'll put them all on a dashboard. To get started, let's jump back to our orders dashboard, and let's start by taking a look at our map type view here. If I click the header, it'll take us into the map in more detail. It'll open it up bigger for us, and we can start to see all the components that make up this map view. Now, why use a map view? Well, there could be many reasons depending on your business to take advantage of a map view. Maybe you are tracking assets or job locations. In our case, I'm tracking where our orders are coming from, so our delivery drivers know where to go. Once we're in the map view, if we navigate over to the hamburger menu, we can click into here and we see that I've got a couple of different options selected. First and foremost, we'll see that I have conditionally formatting selected. So conditionally formatting can be a really powerful tool to enhance any of your views, to make them more visually appealing and to reveal information in a quick way to your users. So you'll see in this case, I've got two different conditional formatting rules set up based on the status of my order. In this first one, we'll see that if the order status is placed, the pin will color yellow. On the second one, if the order status is out for delivery, the pin will color green. Conditional formatting is a really easy thing to set up within TrackVia, and it's a great way to make your views, again, more visual and more appealing to folks, and also just it brings forward information in a meaningful way if you set up conditional formatting and everyone knows what the colors represent. So in this case, to set the order status as placed, we say the entire record here for the pin on the map, we want it to be yellow when this condition is true. And then we're just able to say when the order status has the option selected of placed. Similarly, for our out for delivery status, we say we want the pin to be green when the order status is out for delivery. We'll see conditional formatting on some other views, and we might dive into it in a little bit more detail. But again, very easy to set up and can really enhance your views for your users. The next thing we'll look at here is actually how we set up a map type view. In this case, if we go to edit this view, we'll see that the menu for creating a map is actually very simple. We'll go through all the menus for all the different view types, and for maps, it's really straightforward. We have a view name, and then we also have the option to put a filter on any of our views. And this brings up one best practice that I wanted to mention with any of our views that might take advantage of a filter. In this case, we see that the name of this view is orders placed or out for delivery, and the name of the filter I have selected is the same. A best practice here at TrackVia that we always tell our customers and we use internally is if you're going to put a filter on a view, it's best to build a new filter and name this filter the same name as the view. What I find when I'm building applications is it's very easy to have many views, many filters, and sometimes it can get a little confusing what filter is associated with which view. But if you create a new filter and name it the same as the view, it's very easy to place the correct filter on the view, and it'll alleviate any stress down the line about what filter should be applied. All right, we've covered a lot of information on maps. Now let's go ahead and go to our order and delivery summary and actually show you how we would create a map type view. We'll navigate to the hamburger menu, and with all of the views we're gonna create today, we'll actually hit this create a new view button. What that does in TrackVia is it takes that order and delivery summary and it creates a copy of it. So I'm not actually overwriting that summary view we're working off of. And we'll just call this webinar map grid. We'll hit save and finish on that. And again, creates that copy for us. Now to actually create the map, we'll navigate to the hamburger menu again, and we'll go down and we'll just select the map type. And very easy, TrackVia generates that map based on the locations that were available. So since we were looking for our delivery location or our order locations, that's what it will present. We hit save as new, and in this case, we'll call it webinar map view. And again, I've got the option to put a filter. For the purposes of this webinar, just with time constraints and things like that, we're not gonna put any filters on the views that we create, but we'll just hit save and finish, and now we have that view. You'll notice that all the pins are defaulted to a blue color because I also have not put any conditional formatting on this the way I had on that first map type view. Let's navigate this back to our order and delivery summary, and it's very easy to see that we've just created a map view. Let's go back to our orders dashboard here and look at a similar type of view, or similar type of way that we can create a lanes view. So once again, right in the middle, we're seeing a lanes view. Let's go ahead and click into that to see it in more detail. Now, lanes views can be used for a lot of different reasons. They're great at displaying data. They're also great at interacting with data. In this case, I'm using them to see all of my orders and actually see where they're at. And lanes create these very interactive cards. So if I had an order out for delivery that I verified as delivered, I could just take this card and drag it over and drop it in the delivered lanes. So it's very interactive, very easy, and you're also seeing some conditional formatting again. Anything that's out for delivery, my card is in green. Anything that's delivered, it's in purple, and any order that's placed, it's in yellow. Additionally, on lanes, we get some brief pieces of information like when is the delivery needed by and the total order cost. So lanes are a great way to display simple pieces of information and then be able to move your records between statuses or assign records out to different individuals. Again, because lanes take a relationship type view or a drop down to create. Now let's go ahead and actually make one again with using our order and delivery summary here. Because lanes take a drop down, I'm going to utilize our order status just like we did on our order dashboard here. So if we navigate to the hamburger menu, we will create a new view, and let's call this webinar lanes. Hit save and finish on that. It'll make a copy for us. Back to the hamburger menu, we'll go down to the lanes option. Now this presents the lanes menu, the lanes setup menu, which you'll see is a little more robust than the map setup menu, but overall still pretty simple to walk through. We've got the name of our view, which will just stay as webinar lanes. We also get to select which drop-down or relationship type field we want to use. So I've got a delivery driver relationship type field. So if I wanted to use this to assign orders to delivery drivers, I could. Or in our case, I'm going to use this to see our order status. We then get the option to say what value should be displayed as a lane. So in my case, I only have 3 values. So I'm going to select all of them placed out for delivery and delivered. But if we wanted a lanes view where maybe we only saw the placed or out for delivery options, we don't have to include this delivered one. You get to pick and choose what options you want to see as lanes, and you get up to 100 of those, as you can see there. Next, we're going to choose what fields we want to display on the card. So like I said, on those cards, you get a little bit of quick information there. So I can see all of the different fields that I can put on this card, and I'm just going to arbitrarily select a few, maybe who's our delivery driver, when is the delivery needed by, delivery drivers are assigned to what. All right, we'll navigate back to our summary here. The status of orders in this case. Our map view is showing us where the orders are coming from, and our timeline calendar view is utilized to tell us what delivery drivers are assigned to what and how many orders we're getting per day and when they're coming in. Next, let's go ahead and move over to our analytics dashboard, because the last two view types that we're going to look at are the creation of charts and the creation of pivot views. And then to wrap it up, we're going to put all these things on a dashboard for you. So on our analytics dashboard, I've got two different charts set up. In this case, I've got our sum of order revenue per week and our product popularity based on order quantity. This one's a pie chart, this one's a line chart. Let's go ahead and dive in a little bit to the sum of order revenue per week so that we can look at all of our different chart types before we go ahead and create one. If we go down to edit this view, we'll see that chart types are actually not their own distinct view type within TrackVia. You create them off of a view. So throughout this webinar, we've seen where we go and we actually create a lanes view, we create a map view. Within a chart type view, you really just take advantage of our normal grid type view. But what you do is you move over to this format tab, click on that, and you're presented with charts. You can see all the different chart types we've got. We've got line charts, pie charts, bar charts, area charts, scatter charts, Pareto charts, as well as Gantt charts. So we can see all that information there. And then to actually set up the charts, we're presented with what we want on the horizontal and vertical axes. And in my case, I want to see our order date and time across the bottom and the sum of our total order costs going up on the line so we can see our revenue as it changes over the weeks. Let's go ahead and create one of these. So we'll cancel out of this and we'll go over to our order summary again. Go ahead and create a new view, and let's just call this line chart for webinar. So once again, we're just within our grid type view. I've got all the fields that I need here. Let's go over to the format option, select our charts, and in my case, I'm going to use a line chart. Now it's defaulted the order total cost on the y-axis, so that's good. It's already in place for me. And then on the x-axis, I have the option to select from a few different fields. In my case, I want the order date and time. I want to group by this field, and I don't want to see our revenue daily. I want to see it by week. So we went on ahead and created this similar chart. So it's showing us week over week change in our revenue for our pastry delivery company. Additionally, within our charts, we have some customizable options. So we can add a chart title if we'd like. We can add options on our vertical and horizontal axes. Typically for these, I just leave these blank. If you actually hit the space button forward and then backspace, it will remove the labels on this. But if you feel the need to put a label in, you can do so. The chart title, usually I just utilize the view name. But again, that option is available for you. Additionally, we can adjust the legend position. If we don't want a legend, for example, we can remove it. And then on this line chart in particular, we can make the points a little bit bigger. Each chart type will have some additional customization options for you here. Hit save and finish on that. And now we have a line chart that's showing us all of our revenue as it changes week over week. The final thing that we're going to look at, navigating back to our analytics dashboard, is our pivot type views. So pivot views are one of the newer view options within TrackVia, but a very powerful view. Pivots, if you're familiar from Excel, can really be used to summarize data in a variety of different ways, kind of flip your data on its head, if you will. So because TrackVia looks at things on a per record basis, this is a great way to summarize information, especially when it comes to things like financials by driver, which is what we are looking at here. I'm not showing it here, but you can also conditionally format your pivot views. So if you wanted to, call out any driver that's producing more than $40 in revenue, maybe we want to call out Cosmo Kramer in this case for producing over $40 in revenue, you can do that utilizing conditional formatting. So let's go ahead and quickly create this. We've got a few minutes left in our allotted time before we actually put all this together on a dashboard and start opening it up for some questions. So once again, on our order and delivery summary, we'll go ahead and create a new view. We'll call it the webinar pivot. Save and finish on that. Navigating back to our menu, we'll go down and select the pivot option. Now you'll notice when we set up a pivot view, it's a little bit different than our other view types. We actually get a menu that pops out on the right-hand side. It's not a pop-up actual menu that comes to us. So we're actually going to navigate everything from the side here, but largely it works the same as the other type of views. We're going to say, what do we want our rows to be? In this case, I want the rows to be my record ID. What do we want our columns to be? I want my columns to be my delivery driver. And then I want all the values for them to be the total order cost, because I want to look at revenue by delivery driver. Hit save on that. Oh. And you'll see that I originally said to count the values, but the nice thing about pivots is it gives you a nice preview, so we can see that obviously that's not what I wanted. Instead, I want to sum the values. Hit save on that. And now we're being presented with some better looking information where it's taking all of our revenue per order and assigning it to the delivery driver that actually delivered it. Additionally, we can see I don't have a grand total here, but if I go ahead and hit show grand totals on the columns and hit save, now I'm presented with grand totals across the side here for all of our order grand totals. And if I hit show grand totals for the rows, I can see the grand totals across the bottom. So we've sold a total of $85 in pastries, and I can see that breakdown by my delivery drivers. So pivot view is very easy to set up within TrackVia and also very powerful for manipulating your data. All right, so we've gone through a lot of information in the 25 minutes that we've been together here. We've created lanes views, map views, timeline calendar views, chart type views, as well as pivot type views. The last thing that we want to do quickly is actually present all of these things on a dashboard. And the real idea behind dashboards is we want to present it in a way that's meaningful for the people that are going to be using the dashboard. So we're just going to go ahead and create a brand new dashboard, and I'm going to quickly put all these things on that dashboard and move them around a little bit. So from our admin toolbar, if we navigate to the dashboard dropdown, and we click this plus button here, it's going to take us to our dashboard editor. Our dashboard editor starts out as just a blank slate, but we can give it a name. Let's call it the webinar dashboard. And we can start to put our different view types on it. Now, one thing I want to call out before we start putting our views on here is if we navigate to this more option, we have the option on these dashboards to add shortcut panels. Some of you may already be taking advantage of shortcut panels, but they're one of my favorite things on dashboards because they can make dashboards even more intuitive than they already are, especially if you're taking advantage of mobile devices. Within our shortcut panel, we can start to add different elements such as searching for data, opening views, and adding data. Let's go ahead and just add one of each, and we'll just keep it simple. I've got an employees table here, so maybe we want to search all of our employees, and we can add that search bar there. Let's maybe open that view of all our employees, so we just want to view employees. And maybe we want to add a new employee, so we'll put an add button on here to actually add a new employee. Very easy to use, and now if we press any of these buttons on the dashboard, it'll take us to that view. We'll add a new employee with a form, or we can search our employees. The other nice thing that we've recently added is traditionally you have to set up these buttons in the order that makes sense, but now we actually allow you to rearrange these shortcuts. So if you wanted to put that search bar down in between the view and add of employees, you can do so. All right, the last piece here is if we navigate back to our views, I want to add all of the views we made for this webinar on this dashboard. So if I just search webinar, because I included webinar in all of the names, I can just go ahead and add the line chart, add our timeline, add our lanes view, add our map view, and add our pivot type view. And then we can just start to rearrange these things. So our dashboard editor makes it very easy to just drag and drop all of these elements around and place them on your dashboard in a way that will make sense for the end users. So maybe we'll put our calendar and our line chart right up there together. Maybe we'll take our lanes view and we will put it beside the calendar here. Make that a little smaller, put that up there. We can see our map down there, and then we can see our pivot there. What I typically like to do, so I don't have to do any scrolling, is I like to take up the whole screen when I create a dashboard, but really it's up to you and your employees and what they really need to see in TrackVia. If we hit save on this dashboard, we can now see that we've created a dashboard utilizing all of the different view types. It's a very interactive dashboard. We can drill into this chart to see more information if we'd like. We can shift this calendar to a timeline and be able to see information here. We can move these cards around on a lanes view, utilize our map functions and our pivot functions. So we've created a very interactive dashboard and gone through a lot of information on some very robust views in a very short amount of time here. All right, hopefully that was some good information for you all. I'm going to go ahead and bring up one last slide here, and we'll start to actually take some questions. So let me go ahead and pull up our questions here. So we received a couple of different questions. I'll go ahead and answer a few of them. So one question is, where does the address data come from on the map? Is there a specific data type that needs to be used? That's a great question. So when it comes to map type views, there's a couple of different ways we can get that address type data. If we are taking advantage of a mobile device, we actually have the option to do what we call location by creation, or just take advantage of that mobile device's current location. So the same way your phone looks for your GPS, it can actually pull that address directly into the location type view or that map type view. Additionally, you have the option on that address bar, if you notice that, to type in an address. So if you want to type in, your office, your home, where that delivery needs to go in our case, you can type it in there and it will drop that pin right there. Another question is, once you have created a view into a lane or a timeline, can you back out of the original table view? So once you've created a lane or a timeline, you cannot actually go back to that table view. That's one of the reasons why I was creating a new view type and then creating the lane and then creating the timeline, things like that. So that's why we create that copy every time we go ahead and do that. You can add new types of fields onto that. So if you, for some reason, wanted to show a new field on that lane card, you could add to that, but you can't actually revert it back to that grid type view. Last question that we're going to go ahead and answer here. I think it's a similar question. Is it possible to save as or duplicate an existing view? It's a great question, and the answer is yes. So that's actually what I was doing as we went through and we're creating those individual views. I was making a copy of that grid view every time. So we had that summary view of our deliveries and our orders. Every time I hit create a new view, it was going through and it was creating a copy of that so that when I made a lane type view, I wasn't losing that summary view. So every time you hit create a new view, it's going to take a copy of that, and that's essentially your save as. So it can be very easy to make a lot of different views and then just adjust them accordingly. All right, I believe that's all the time we have for questions right now. I'm going to pass it back to Bianca to take us out. Thank you, everybody, for joining today.
Thanks, Brandon, and I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join our webinar on customizing views with TrackVia. So this recording will be sent out to you via email tomorrow, like I've said. We will have a TrackVia representative follow up with any other questions we've had, and also feel free to reach out to them yourself or our customer support to learn more. Thanks and have a great day.